former Prime Minister had a huge crush on a Hollywood star? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here. Nice to have your company. Hope you're keeping well, and welcome on all to all those brand new subscribers. We've gone over 80,000, so really a truly big, heartfelt thank you. Can't believe it. It's so good though that you seem to be enjoying, of course, all these exclusive and latest reports coming out of London. And remember, these are many of the stories that you won't see on the mainstream media, simply because they don't want to cover them, they don't think it's important. And I think also people really just want to stick to a formula. I don't know about you, but I find it very hard now to watch the news itself by somebody sitting behind a desk and just telling you the news, and then you can't really have an opinion, or indeed can't get involved, simply because, as you know, when you do reply to these programs, they don't bother, they're not interested, they're just trying to get the traffic on their website. On my show, what we like to do is involve you, so I do read your comments, I do know exactly the sort of things that you like and you don't like, or you disagree with me, but as ever, as I often say, we have to get back to your news story of the day. Now, a lot of people ask me, when you get started in your career, what's it like, all that sort of stuff. And I was looking through some old pictures the other day, and I came across a picture of a former British Prime Minister. One that really wasn't that popular, I've got to tell you over here. It is, of course, Sir Edward Heath. Now, for my generation, being a very young child, what I remember about Edward Heath's tenure at 10 Downing Street was, well, candles, electricity cuts, bin strikes, you name it. There were lots of things went wrong in his very short time as Premier, but he had a nemesis, and that nemesis was none other than the formidable Margaret Thatcher. Now, I was lucky enough to meet both individuals on very strange circumstances. Sir Edward, I've got to tell you, I met very briefly when he was at a conference in a hotel years before, but then years later when I was working for a television channel up in the north of England, one of my very first sort of professional TV jobs, he was a guest on one of the shows. Very strange guy in many ways, because when an ex-prime minister's been an ex-prime minister, they want you to remember that, don't they? That's the big thing that they want to be recalled for. What I do remember about him was this strange request, shall we say. In the green room there were things like tea, coffee, soft drinks, that sort of stuff. But before Sir Edward arrived at the studio, it was requested that someone go out and find him, or buy him, should we say, a bottle of Johnny Walker Red whiskey. No tea and coffee for him. Now, this was brought back in duly and very discreetly put into teacups and things like that, so people wouldn't realise that he's drinking whiskey. At that point in his career, did it really matter? He was there at the TV channel because he was unveiling a portrait about himself that a local regional artist had done on live TV. I will tell you that story in full, or if we ever get back to doing some live dates in a theatre, you'll love some of these stories. It's interesting. But let's just say he didn't go down particularly well, and when it's live TV, there's no turning back. But Edward then basically got chatting to myself and my mum, and we were sat in the green room chatting away to him, and he was sort of asking us, do you remember, when I was PM? And we thought, yeah, we do. What a disaster that was. But then, of course, he brought up his, as I say, nemesis, Margaret Thatcher. And he told me this. He told me that nobody really quite liked Margaret Thatcher in government, but there was one person who could wrap Margaret Thatcher around his little finger, and that was none other than the former Hollywood actor, now president at the time, Ronald Reagan. Now, Ronald Reagan, of course, was one of these B-list Hollywood stars that we didn't really know that much about. I'm sure of a generation you remember him popping up in things like Film Goer, Picture Goer, Silver Screen, all those sort of stuff. He was a hunk of the moment of the 40s, but he never really made it big, did he? Not in the Brando Dean stakes or anything like that, but a really good actor and seemingly a very nice man. Now, according to Sir Edward, the reason why Ronald was able to twist Mrs. Thatcher round his finger was simply this. She had had a terrible crush on him as a young girl, going to see him at a local picture house when she lived up in Grantham in Lincolnshire. And also, according to him, she couldn't quite believe it when she was in his arms on the dance floor at a banquet dinner at the White House. In fact, apparently she told lots and lots of people what a gentleman he was, how kind, how thoughtful. Not quite sure what Dennis Thatcher thought of this. Forward a few years, and I did get to meet the legendary Mrs. Thatcher when she came along to our studios. And I just happened to bring up Ronald Reagan. Well, It was like someone had switched on a light bulb on the fragrant Mrs. Thatcher. She truly was a light with passion, shall we say. She gushed about him for quite a bit of time and said that he was such a gentleman and that she'd never quite met anybody like him because he was thoughtful, courteous, and lots of people could learn a lot from him. Now, I always thought Ronald Reagan came across as a really nice guy. I know a lot of people made fun of him being forgetful and things like that, but let's not forget he was also knocking on at that point in age. So a little bit like Joe Biden, maybe they came to the position too late. But as for Margaret Thatcher, she never quite, as she pointed out to me, got over meeting and working with one of her favourite all-time Hollywood stars. Neil Sean in the heart of London.